Hi, my name's Lisa. I'm from Rocking Chair Quilts in Butler, Missouri, and I want to talk to you today about coloring with colored pencils on fabric before you embroider and make it part of a quilt. The pattern I'm going to use today is one of Ike and Donkey Designs, which is Debbie and my pattern. This one is called Believe, and we've got an old-fashioned Santa. This one has been done without coloring. We've got the colored version hanging up behind me and on the back of the pattern. This one I colored with crayons, and now I want to do one with colored pencils because I like the look of colored pencils better. You can do this pattern without coloring, but I think coloring gives it a little bit more dimension. So the very first thing I did was I got the pattern out and I traced it. When I traced it, I used a permanent pen, like these Micron Pigma pens. They have ones that have the plastic nibs, and so they don't list a size on the tip, but a plastic nib. Those work great on fabric. Another thing I've got down here after I traced it, I need something to keep any texture that's underneath my coloring from coming through on my coloring. So I've used a silicone baking sheet, and it evens everything out underneath it.
It also kind of holds it so it doesn't slide.
Yeah, it won't slide around as much. We've used magazines and things before, and your fabric just slips around on that. When I'm picking out the colors for this, I want his hat to be red, his face is going to be peach colored, and his beard is going to be mostly white.
Or whatever color face you want to make it.
Yes, mine is going to be peach colored. His beard is going to be mostly white, which I won't color, but I'm going to give it some shadows and textures with some grays. So it's going to pick up the white from the fabric. So this is what I did the other day. I went through and I pulled all of my pencils that looked like they could be red. I colored a little bit and then put their names out.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because sometimes the barrel of the pencil doesn't really match what the lead of the pencil colors.
Exactly.
Did you have something else?
I did. Did you say what kind of pencils you used already?
No, I didn't. Okay. These are artist quality pencils. They're made by Prismacolor, and they're their premier colored pencils. They are a little pricey, but they're well worth it because they have soft lead. They color nicely on fabric and let you blend them nicely together. So for his hat, I've picked, out of all of these reds, I picked 3. I usually try to find a light, a medium, and a dark. And so my light one is going to be Scarlet Lake, which is up here. My medium one is going to be Crimson. No, I've got those backwards. Crimson Red. And see, if you look at the barrels, it looks like that's backwards. This one looks like it would be darker than this one, but it's not. Let's see, Crimson Red. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was totally confused there. I'm not going to use that one at all. I didn't like it. It was too pink. So I am going to use Scarlet as my light, Crimson as my medium, and Crimson Lake. I guess there's a Crimson Red and a Crimson Lake. I'm having a terrible time saying that word. Okay, so Crimson Lake I'm going to set aside because it's going to be my shadows, and Scarlet Lake is going to be my highlights, and that's the one I want first. And so any place on this hat that I think is going to be more towards you or in the light, I'm going to color with this pencil, which is Scarlet Lake. I like to press hard, and my pencil, if you can see, I'm coloring it kind of in circles. I don't want lines on it. When I colored this guy over here with crayons, I couldn't get the lines gone once they were there. But if you color this and kind of move it around in circles, you won't have the lines to start with.
Okay, so you've got some darker places, but those will be blended away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And this is going to be the lightest part of this hat. He's not shiny. His hat isn't shiny, so it's not going to have white highlights, but the red is going to look lighter in some places, and that's what I'm coloring now. I'm going to stop here and I'll add some more of the light because basically what I'm going to do is color this whole part here red. Then I'll go back in and add some of the darks and I'll come back.
The red that you're doing now?
Yes, once I've got the whole hat colored with this red, I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. I've got him all colored with my lightest red for his hat, and the lightest red was Scarlet Lake. So I'm done with the lightest. I want to go back in with my second and give it some shadowing. I did a little bit of playing with it, and you can see right in here I've already put a little bit of shadowing, but otherwise this looks fairly flat. And so I want to give it some more dimension and make it look rounded. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to leave this section right in here pretty much alone, and I'm going to give it a little bit of dark out towards the edge. And make that a little bit darker. I did want to show you the difference so far. Of course, I've only colored one layer between the crayon, which I've got it laying down over here, and the colored pencil. I think there's
okay, so this one's
difference.
crayon.
Yeah.
This one's colored pencil.
Any place there's going to be a wrinkle, the shadow extends beyond where the stitching stops. So it's going to come up like that. I'm going to fill this all in here with the medium red. The medium red is really the color that the whole hat will end up looking. And I like this color for Santa's hat. So I will add, whoops, I ran off of my little mat. I will add more of this all the way around. But you can see how I'm leaving this alone. I'll go in with my blending stump and I'll blend some of that in where it doesn't have a definite line to separate it. Because I don't want it to be real obvious. And then I'm going to take the darkest color and find the places that are in the deepest part, which would be right in here and in here. I'm off my mat again. I'm going to bring that mat closer to me. Yeah. It's going to be right here. Really right in here, because that whole end of the hat, the tail there, flops over.
So that's the underneath part of the hat, and the other part's on top.
Yes. The fuzz from the white is going to be on top, so it's going to have some outline that's going to be darker here. And I still have not finished with that medium red, so I'm going to go back and add some more of that. I just kind of wanted to show where the darkest parts are going to be. And you don't want it to be a solid line, so I bring it up into the other and I don't press as hard. Here's going to be, and when you color this with this darkest one, it really starts giving more depth to the hat, making it look more three-dimensional.
I can already see a difference in it.
Yeah, and then down here by the puff ball, that's going to be going into...
Puff ball.
And along here, because this piece here is more on top. So we're gonna, and then this fold here needs to have the darker coming in. And so you can start to see that there's more depth to it. I'm going to go back with my medium red and I'm going to fill in some more around here. If I get outside the lines, like that.
You just did.
This is that fun tack, and I've made it into a little ball, and I can just make it come up. If you color too dark someplace, you can go over this and you can get yourself some highlights that way too. But I want to just keep adding some more of this medium red. And so I'll come back when I've got more of the medium red done. And one thing I wanted to tell you is when I moved this over here, I folded the fabric over and it transferred some of the red because this is not set yet. I haven't blended it, I've just colored it.
It's very soft lead, so it will, if it gets on your hands, it'll get somewhere else. So
especially along here if you've rested it. In fact, I wanted to tell you I started with this hat because that's the farthest upper left corner and I'm right-handed. So I will move down this way as I color, and I won't have to rest my hand on that. If you're left-handed, you would color anything from this way coming down, or turn it.
Good point.
But you don't want to be dragging your hand across that, so I'm not going to move this and fold it anymore. I'll just stand here and color it because I don't want to get the color outside, because this is such a light color and this is going to be such a dark color, and I want that contrast to be there.
Okay, and what did you trace that on? What fabric is that?
This is a Moda fabric. It's by Zen Chic, and it's called Spotted. And this is, I think they're white color, so it's got all this wonderful texture to it.
It does. I love it.
But it's not so much that it takes away from it. It's, I really, really like it.
Okay, well, we'll be back after you finish coloring some more.
Okay. Okay, I've added my other colors on here. I like how it looks.
It looks really good.
I can kind of see a little bit of a highlight through here, and down onto this little top fold here, I can see shading that fills in a shadow in here, kind of down through here. And like I said, the coloring extends beyond the line that you'll stitch, which ends right there. And then I just blend those around. I've blended on this a little bit. Debbie said I shouldn't have, that I should have waited.
They want to see you do it.
Showed what you do. Basically, you just rub it over with this, and this blending stump works great on fabric. And what I'm wanting to do is get rid of any lines where it looks like I moved from one color to another. And they just kind of rub themselves into the fabric.
Okay, now, do they want to just keep using that blending stump on different colors?
No, because let me show you the tip of this. I've turned it really dark red, so I have a sandpaper paddle. I'm not going to do this over my thing, so I'm going to stand up and get back. You just scratch that paper off. So all of the red paper is getting off of my blending stump.
So a sandpaper paddle or emery boards.
Yeah, anything that lets you scratch the... When it gets to about that, you wipe it on your jeans. That's exactly what everybody tells you to do.
Yeah.
Not. But you wipe it on your jeans, and it'll get the rest of the color off of there. Because the next place I'm going to be blending is out on his white, on his hat, and I definitely don't want to be bringing any of the red. And I've kind of filled this one up. So now I've got a completely
ta-da,
new,
brand new.
Sandpaper. Get the rest of that red off of there. And so it'll be ready to use on the next one.
Yes, looks brand new.
This next one, like I told you, this white fabric is going to be the main color of the cuff. And if it's not a puff ball, what would you call it?
I think I'm going to go with puff ball.
Okay. And so I'm going to just take a light gray, and any place that there's a line, I'm going to color on either side of it just to kind of let the stitching be the darkest part.
You really can't hardly even see that at all.
Yeah, and you don't really want it. It's just a shadow.
Right. Oh, I can see the difference, though.
To come in. Now, if I go over into my red, my pencil will drag some of that red too. If it bothers you, if you're having problems with the red moving other places, you could stop now. You could seal this red with the Jacquard's colorless fabric extender. Let it dry, and then go on, and then your red wouldn't give you any more problems. I'm just going to be careful. I know I have that fun tack that I can move it, erase it off of there if I wanted to. So I'm just really kind of giving this a few shadows. I'm going to come up in here a little bit because we know it's not flat. It's kind of fluffy.
So you're going to give it some dimension.
Yeah.
With the gray too.
This is an edge that's coming up from his forehead, so it curls under. So I'm kind of bringing it up a bit. And we don't want it to be a gray trim, but it needs something to give it a shadow. And so to me, a darker white would be this gray.
And what color is that gray?
This one's called 20% Cool Gray. And I've got a few places that if I wanted to, I could go in with, this is a 50% Cool Gray, and give it just a little bit darker coloring. But it isn't real dark. It's, and I'm coloring very lightly with this now because I really don't want it to be a dark line. It's still white. So
Yeah,
I'm going to do a
looks
little bit
good.
more to this. I'll do it to the puffball down here, and then we'll get ready and we'll color his face and
Okay.
his hair, which his hair and his cuff trim and puffball are about the same because
It's
he's
the
got the
official term now.
white beard, yes, and his eyebrows are going to be white. So
Right.
I'm going to pretty well do this with the gray over the trim of the hat, his beard, his hair and eyebrows,
Okay.
and then we'll color his face.
Then we'll be back.
Okay. All right, I've been working on the fuzz part of his hat.
It's really looking rounded.
And I took the 20% cool gray and I just gave it a lot of definition around all of the lines in from the side. I need to do a little bit more on this side over here. And so I've got more of the shadowing going on. And now I'm going to go in with, this is 50% cool gray, so it's an even darker fabric. And I started on that over here. And then Debbie said I should be showing you guys what I'm doing, so we stopped and got her recording. And I'm just going to pull this in a lot because this is under that part of the cap. I just fell off my mat over there.
You do that a lot.
I do. My mat needs to be bigger, or else I need to be coloring on something smaller. I just want to give it some more depth. When I add the shadow underneath it, it makes it look like it's
You can
puffier.
tell a big difference.
Yeah, and where the lines are, you can go out either side of those lines because the stitching is really what is showing the shadowing on that, and your stitch will be the darkest part of that. I don't want to make it look like it's a dark gray dirty cap, so I want to be careful not to color in here. Right now, to me, that looks pretty fuzzy, and that's exactly the way I wanted it to look. Do you see any places that I should add more?
No, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Now, would you use your blending stump on that as well?
Not as much, because there is no main color that I colored. I just left the fabric alone. I can.
So I haven't colored a lot with pencils. And so I guess everybody's glad that I'm asking these questions because if they're watching it, maybe they haven't colored a lot with them either. So
Yeah. The blending stump is not going to do a whole lot.
it kind of smears it around a little.
Yeah, and it didn't really need it as much as the other places. I'm seeing a little bit of migration of my red. Not enough that it's going to bother me. It almost looks like it's reflected on the white, honestly. So you can see it.
So would you suggest going ahead and painting that with the
Yeah, I
textile?
probably would because I'm having issues with the red wanting to come over. Or I could have colored everything else that was light first, then done the red. But I think I still might have had some problems with the red wanting to come over on here.
So on something this large, it might be a good idea to do a section at a time and
it's
treat
going
it.
to take a while to paint it anyway because I don't use a real big brush when I do it. I'm happy with the way the shadowing goes on the hat now.
Yeah, it looks good.
Add some more on this puff ball. And I have decided that that is the term for this thing, is a puff ball.
Apparently.
And so I'm just going in around these. There's really no right or wrong. I'm picking some and I'm making them look like they're back behind the others and just kind of going around where those lines are. Mostly, I'm just trying to make it look dimensional.
So that's what I have trouble with also is deciding which would be in front and which would be in the back.
And whichever way you color it, that's what's going to look like it's in front. And the other one will look like it's in back. And this is a puffball, so there's no definite rhyme or reason to where it is puffier than other places. And remember, when you're doing this, your stitching line does take up some of where you've colored. So if I were to just draw this right along that line and then stitch it, that dark line is going to be gone.
So that's why you want it to be messy looking.
I'm going out beyond the lines, yeah. And just kind of coloring in. And I just keep doing this, and then I kind of step back and look at it. And if it starts looking like too dark of gray in places, I'll just use that fun tack and pull some of it back off. If I look like I see lines, I'll use my blending stump to blend those in. Mostly I just kind of want it to stand out from the rest of the fabric as being different than the background. I don't really like this big, huge, puffy spot right here, so I'm going to use my lighter gray and kind of just give it a little bit of something in there. It was just too big of a spot, even though there weren't any lines in there. And then I can take the blending stump, make sure I get the right end so I don't get more red in there, and just get rid of some of the lines.
And actually give it just shadows then.
Yeah. And I did try to make it a little bit darker on this edge, but yeah, I'm happy with that one. I'm going to do something very similar to the beard. So I probably won't show you guys that. The next thing I think I'll color is his face, so I can show you that, and then I'll get the whole thing done and come back after I've got the face colored and show you that. I won't have you watch the beard step by step. Okay, thanks for watching.
Okay.
All right, I decided to show you a little bit of what I'm doing with the face. I started out with the light peach, and I just colored in a little bit on the tops of his cheeks on both sides and across to the center of his forehead and a little bit on the top of his nose. This isn't a very dark color at all. This is going to be my main color, and this one is just peach, not light peach, but just peach. And I was really liking how this was starting to look. So what I'm filling in is just everywhere that skin would be, and got around his eye. And I'm basically going to just color it in, except for if I don't want to get his mustache, because it wouldn't be peach, would it?
I would say no.
Yeah. Get around here. I didn't give that Santa any color to his eye. I may go back and give this one.
Well, it gets satin stitched.
It wouldn't have to be, though.
You're very true. That's very true.
I wouldn't have to do any satin stitching. Hey, there's motivation.
Win-win.
Satin stitch is not my favorite embroidery stitch. I'll do it if I have to. So basically, I'm just coloring this all in, and then I'm going to go back. Looks kind of streaky through there. With a darker color, and this one is called Nectar. And if I'm not sure what it's going to look like, I'll go over to the side and color a little bit on the fabric. I've already colored it on paper, but places that I want to give just a little bit more depth to, like under his little caterpillar eyebrows and under the line of his hat. And in the wrinkly forehead, you know, Santa's not young.
I guess it depends on who Santa is.
That's true. Well, this guy's got white hair, so we're calling him not young. So he's got a wrinkly forehead. Or maybe he's just concerned about things.
Concentrating on something.
Yeah. Now this is a little rosier than I like. So I'm going to go back in with my peach and color it a little bit darker to kind of cover up some of the rosy part on there.
Okay, but when you blend that, will that kind of spread that out a little too?
Yep. A lot of times I use one of the pencils kind of as a blender, which is what I'm doing now. When I go back in and I color over that, I'm dragging the color out. And you can always just press darker with the pencil that you're using. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing there, but I sure got some shadowing just by pressing darker with that color there. And I didn't bring in any of the Nectar color. And then let's give him some dark there, and then he's going to have rosier cheeks. I've shared before, I think, that the very first time I colored that Santa, I had used a pencil to draw it with. And so when I was doing this kind of stuff, suddenly he had grayish skin, darkish, dirty looking cheeks. I thought it was ruined.
The pencil lead smeared, didn't it?
Yeah, it just was not good.
You make it look so easy.
Well, it's just kind of following where the lines go and giving it some depth. And I want his nose to look very rounded. You know, he's supposed to have that, what is it?
Jolly nose?
I guess.
What's in The Night Before Christmas?
Yeah,
What kind of nose did he have?
I'm clueless on that. I guess people watching will have to go look it up if they really want to know.
They're sitting there saying out loud what it is.
It's this. Come on, can't you?
Don't you remember?
So there's really no line here, but on your nose there kind of is. So
True.
I'm going to give it more of a line that's not even going to be stitched, because if you stitched all these, he would look kind of weird.
Right. That's a good idea.
By coloring them, you get them, the suggestion of them, I guess, there anyway. And I've got a Deco Peach. Yep. Which is a little pinker. And I'm going to go in and just give him a little bit of rosiness to his cheeks with this Deco Pink.
Oh, that's really showing up.
Is it looking like too much pink?
No.
Okay, let's put a little on his nose too. He's supposed to be jolly.
And out in the cold.
And out in the cold, yeah. Give him some over here too. So I'm going to just keep going with his face, but you can see, and I don't like, what color was that? Nectar. I didn't really like the nectar too well.
And poor Santa. Everybody's having to see him upside down.
Yeah.
This is when we need one of those overhead cameras.
He would be a little harder for me to color, at
right.
least, if I was coloring him upside down. So, yeah, and this needs some more shadowing right through here. And then under his eye. I think I might give him blue eyes.
Okay, so they can really do this. Anybody could do this with any color skin tone.
Yes.
Just pick out three, four
or
pencils.
Two. I ended up
or
using
two pencils.
Well, yeah.
That are slightly different color. Try them out.
Yeah, and experiment a lot with the pressure that you give to the pencil, because you can make it much darker just by pressing harder.
But even watching it in this color, you can kind of tell where they need the shadows and where it doesn't. And
yeah. Already I'm liking his face lots better than when
it's so much better than when you started.
Pale. He's got some little wrinkledy eyebrow area. I don't know what you call that part.
Smile lines.
There, because he smiles a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, he's looking better. Okay, and on his mouth, I'll put more of the pink. I don't want him to have bright red lipstick, but maybe that's where the nectar would work better. Let's try some.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's just give him a little bit darker mouth. You don't want him to look like he's wearing lipstick. And once again, if I get this on there and I don't like it, fun tack. What's that color looking like?
It looks good.
Now, your lips can be a little bit shiny. So we're going to leave a lighter patch towards the center. Kind of reflect the light a little bit. Good. I'm liking that. I may even use this nectar to give him a little bit rosier cheeks. Over through here. It seems a little light right in there, but it doesn't need a huge shadow. So I'm just going to go back in a little bit more with this.
Okay, I'm going to come around and look at this so they can see it right side up
Okay.
for a change. Yeah. What do you think?
I think
That's
he's
looking
getting
good.
there. Yep, I may play with him a little bit more. But I like that color on his lip. It doesn't look like lipstick to me.
No, it really doesn't.
Okay. Now I'm going to go back in and do more on his hair and mustache. And then we'll start painting our colorless extender
Okay.
to make it permanent. Okay, I've got him colored. I like how he's shadowed, shaded in and all of that. So I'm ready to now paint him over and make it permanent. I've got Jacquard's textile colorless extender. I'm going to paint a thin layer over that. But before I'm ready to paint, this is just a piece of freezer paper. Shiny side up. I'm going to put it underneath this because I don't want any of this extender stuff to soak through my fabric onto my cutting mat. And so if I put the paper underneath this, it won't go clear through. I also have a paper towel over here because if I were to lift this up after, excuse you.
Sorry.
After painting this, I'm going to lift it up and I kind of look at it to see what areas I haven't painted because that's easier to tell from the back. I'll use my paper towel to wipe up any excess liquid that's on the back. I also want to shake this. I could stir it. It kind of gets little lumpy things in it if you don't get it all stirred up. So I've got it. Shook it up, and this is a brand new one. I think I'm on my 3rd or 4th bottle of this stuff.
It does go a long ways.
It goes a long ways, but I've done a lot with it.
Yes, you have.
And I'm going to use a small brush. I brought a bigger brush just to show you that you could use a bigger brush. And when I'm down here in the white, I may use the bigger brush. But I like to control where the liquid's going. So the first thing I'm going to do is just use a small brush. Put my glasses back on. And I'm going to come in, move this a little closer to me.
And take your earbuds off.
Yeah.
They won't get in your way.
No, I won't paint it. Okay, and I'm going to start up at the edge and bring the textile medium towards me from the edge. And you can see this is going to take a little bit with this size brush. So what I might want to do is get my edges all good where I've got the control of the small brush moving the liquid in. As you can see, this isn't real runny, but it does soak into the fabric. And so I don't want my color going outside my lines.
Because it can drag the color.
Yeah, if I were to brush it this way, I would have a glowing pink edge around his hat. So I think what I'll do on this is do the edge, bring that all the way around, and then use my bigger brush to fill in the center, because then it won't matter. And when I change color from the red to the white, I'll want to wash my brush out so that I don't take the red to the white areas. But basically, that's how you do this. I'll keep painting this. When it's all done, I'll just hang him up and let him dry. It takes a couple hours. And then I'll heat set him with my iron, and he'll be good to stitch. So hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial on coloring. And check back with our station for more videos that we'll be posting later. So thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, I went ahead and I finished up the hat. And I decided to go on to the next area of color, which was his face. And I was going to show you how it bleeds through to the back side. But when I picked it up, I had to have Debbie wipe it up with the paper towel because I couldn't lay it back down.
Maybe we can show them on this part.
So I'm hoping that I can show you with the peach color going through. But just This one you don't have to worry as much about. It's not migrating as bad as that red did. Although I will make sure that I wipe my brush off after I go over his eyes, because I don't want the black and the blue to go somewhere else. Sounds like your lunch is ready. And I think I've about got him all done on his face.
Except for his eyes.
Except for his eyes. So this is where I want to pick it up and see. So I'm going to pull this back. If you'll hold that down.
Yeah. Oh, you really can't see anything.
No, you can't see it as much on this one. But there is some liquid there. And I like to look at it from the back because you can see where I've painted and where I haven't. Here's some of the red coming back over there. I'm going to lay him back down. And until he's dry, you have to be pretty careful with him, especially that red area. Or any, if you're doing a different picture, any dark area you need to be careful of. Let's see, it looked like there wasn't quite some here, and I hadn't done his mouth at all.
Like it just wasn't saturated through.
Yeah, you can see it from the back side, what you've missed a little bit better, which is the whole reason I pick it up and look at it. Otherwise, I would just leave it sitting. And I didn't think about doing his mouth. Oh, and I was going to tell you, Debbie, it looks to me like I don't have to satin stitch on this one because every place that this guy has satin stitching,
You've colored him in.
I colored him in, so I can just do straight outline stitch.
And there you go.
All right, I'm going to finish painting up his mouth, and then I'll start in on the white.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to show you was the difference between coloring with colored pencil. And there he's all painted with the fabric extender. He's dried, and he's been heat set with an iron. He's all ready for me to stitch. This was the one colored with crayon. And I still like that guy, but this guy is a whole lot brighter and more vibrant, and I don't have to satin stitch on him. Okay, thanks again for watching.